Hello, this is my first vlog of 2017, I think. Is it the first one? Maybe it is, I can't remember for sure. If it is, well, hello. And even if it isn't, hello. On this channel, I do vlogs occasionally. I do scientific talks about stuff like, I don't know, science. And current affairs and things of that sort. Gameplay videos, travel videos, a bit, whenever I go on holiday, for example. And about London as well. But today I'm going to talk about my divorce, a bit about my holiday, and a bit about my recent holiday to Tromsø in Norway, and a bit about YouTube, the channel, how's it doing and all that. So, divorce. Not a cheerful subject. It was about 9 months ago my wife told me she wanted to leave. Really within a couple of weeks she was gone. The decree absolute came through in November. So that's it. All done and dusted. It was quick, simple, because we didn't argue or anything. We just said, we sort of sat down like reasonable people and were able to just, okay, split it like that. Whoosh, off we go. And the question is, I suppose, how am I? I don't know how she is. Presumably she's okay. Okay, I don't know. I think I've been looking online at videos and stuff, and they say, oh, men don't get over divorce, women do, because they talk with all their friends and so on, and they get over it, and men don't. But I kind of agree and disagree. It's true that I think it's not something you can actually get over. Speaking for myself, but getting over is kind of a vague term. It's always going to be there. It's an event that happened, and that's that. But over time, gradually, it becomes less and less relevant to you. I know it's only 9 months now, and obviously there's still a tendency to brood on it a bit, but I decided pretty early on, and it's still true, that it's something which is not fixable, and therefore there's not much to be gained from thinking about it. So I tend not to. Having said that, there's always the temptation to say, ah yes, but it was all your fault. You're like this and you're not like that, and you're not good enough, you're a failure, stuff like this. The sort of verbal mind comes up with all these annoying theories, right? And it's beneficial to evaluate them quickly. I mean, even if these stupid theories are true, I am who I am, and I've got to live with that, and so would any other woman I have to marry, right? And the fact is, as human beings, none of us really are much good, okay? We all have our good points, we all have our weaknesses. So, and those of us who are somewhat conscientious, at least we spend a bit of time trying to improve ourselves all the time as well. And it's right to go and examine one's weaknesses and faults and think about them, but in fact a life where you don't do that, as far as I'm concerned, is a wasted life. But if you think about them to the point where they are depressing you, making you miserable, or interfering in your life, in fact, then that is not beneficial. That is actually harmful. And it's very important, I think, for me, and I think people in general, to take advantage of the executive functions that we have. We kind of have a bunch of people in our head. We have male and female children, male and female adults. We even have kind of male and female wise old people, as it were. There's a whole bunch of different personalities. We are a society of mind, as Marvin Minsky put it. And I mean, we can see this in our lives very easily. On going to bed, we're going to get up early in the morning, we're going to do all our work, and everything's going to be fantastic. But when the morning comes, we think, let's just stay in bed for another 5 minutes. And before you know it, 2 hours have passed, right? Okay. So we are different people at different times, and that's just the way it is. But you can take advantage of this to sort of manage your internal politics. The voice, the inner voice, I think tends to be rather... it's kind of a negative adult voice for most people. Some people, I think, have a positive inner voice, but an awful lot of people have negative inner voice. And it produces these self-destructive criticisms. Now you might think, look, you've got to look at your weaknesses if you're going to improve. And it's true, but it's so wrong to dwell on them, and it's so wrong to take them too seriously. Being a human being, you are naturally less than perfect. It's impossible. The universe is vast and we are minuscule, right? We can we can manage only so much. And I think the thing is to see if what you're doing is with good intent. That's if you're managing that, you're a success. I mean, and if you're not managing that, you probably have to go into therapy to get some expert help to help you get over what's in your way. But I think in most cases, simply brooding on things is not constructive. If you're going around and around in circles, then that's the signal that it isn't working. You can't get anywhere unless you've got some new ideas. And without the new ideas, there's no point in thinking any further, because you're going around in circles. There isn't a solution. In the case of this divorce, and probably most, it is not fixable. It's gone. It's happened. There's nothing to do. Yes, I can figure out where I went wrong and so on, but I knew that even at the time. And when we were married, we both knew what was working, what was not, and so on. And the same in any relationship. With intelligent people, you know where it's a little bit in need of some work, okay? And you can either do it or not. And that's it. There are things that you just can't do, and there are times when you can do the best and it still doesn't work out. That's just the way it is. So brooding is useless. Brood for a minute or two and work out whether it's worth it. But that's really, you have to use your executive functions to say, this brooding isn't working. Let's get on with my life, and maybe I'll have a new idea and it'll all be sorted out. We'll wait for that to happen, right? I mean, certainly there are cases where people can benefit from therapy of some sort, but it tends to be, I think, more where there's self-sabotage, or where you're so unhappy and you can't get over it. I mean, one can be unhappy after a divorce, but you can also know that it's manageable, it's just part of the normal misery of life, right? But when you're really in a bad state, well, of course it helps to talk, and talking therapy can be useful for those people. You can also, so whenever you're self-sabotaging as well, you need therapy. Whenever unless you can figure it out, of course. When you're not doing what you want to do, or when you're doing what you don't want to do and you don't understand how come you keep doing it, that's when it can be helpful, because these things typically come from childhood. And the reason they come from childhood is that it's when we are infants that we make the key decisions on how to live our lives. And this is unfortunate because infants don't know much about how to live a life, and they make the decisions based on misperceptions, based on their unique family situation, based on the rotten people they've got around them or the great people they've got around them, based on childish inferences, instinctual logic, and all your life's way of doing things winds up being based on these early decisions, which, now that you've grown up, you've forgotten what the reasoning was, and you can't go back and re-examine it. However, a good therapist can pull that out of you, because you do know, in the back of your mind you kind of know, but you're so used to bypassing it, to skipping it, to just automatically going from A to Z, A to Z if you're American, rather than looking at B, C, D in between, that you skip over it in an instant and don't realise how you're making that decision. So a good therapist can say, hey, wait a minute, what about this and what about this? And then you can reevaluate and start to adjust. For most people, probably day-to-day thinking about things is sufficient. Although I think really for most people a little bit of guided examination would be useful, in truth. It can also be good, of course, for overcoming all sorts of limitations within your psychology. But another way of doing this is with meditation, actually, because the biggest problem I think that most people have is with their inner voices, this little chattering devil that we think of as ourselves, as our mind, is perhaps most people's biggest problem, because it talks garbage and we think it's us and we take it seriously. And with meditation you learn that actually it's just a language module chugging away, in the same way as your visual module is the bit that manages your eyesight and you see stuff. It's not you, it's things you're seeing. The voice is not you, it's things you're imagining. Your language module is imagining, in fact, or repeating typically back to you. Things you were taught as an infant or as a child. Don't do this, you are that, all this sort of stuff. And the whole attitude of it is typically related to the attitude you learned as an infant, and it was a tool you used to manage yourself as an infant. As an adult, there are better tools. Basically, your executive functions are mature. There's the wise old man and the wise old lady inside your head. You can silence that adult mind, your inner critic. Just tell it, okay, I know there's these issues, just relax. And try and listen to the instinctual side of you, and use your wisdom, your adult wisdom, your old person wisdom, to try and, if you like, the great spirit within, to try and take a more holistic, sympathetic view of things. Because you can manage yourself better with caring than you can with criticism. And your mind will learn to calm, actually, if you do this enough. And the meditation side of it is to help you understand, to see, literally, that this mind is not you. It's just a module. Sometimes the talking therapies are positively harmful. They amount to re-traumatization. If you have successfully bypassed a lot of issues and shunted them into the past, it may be that it's not worth re-examining them, and that bringing it all up again when it's not fixable, in fact, in principle, is not going to benefit you. But as I say, the sign that therapy is a good thing is when you are persistently unhappy and self-sabotaging, basically, clearly, or even when you're dangerous to people, obviously. If you can't control yourself, there's something too powerful that it needs looking at. Okay, that's all. It's fixable, but you need greater understanding so that you can do it. That's all. For things like this divorce and stuff like that, and even your average daily life traumas of, I don't know, losing your job or being grossly embarrassed or making some huge mistake. I think people make a mistake, like huge mistake, every 10 years or so. I think that's the mean time between huge mistakes. For things like that, you can sometimes just wait for them to pass. Over time, it's just going to fade. It doesn't go. It becomes a part of who you are, a part of your history, and you can draw conclusions on it, but make them tentative conclusions rather than definite ones. And get on with your life. I'll just check the battery here. A little low. I don't know why my batteries are all starting to run out quickly for some reason the last few months. And so what will I do? Get married again? I'm 57. It's not very likely, to be honest. But getting on with my life is more attractive than moping. Anyway, let's face it. And in that respect, I went on holiday to Tromsø in Norway recently, in the hope of seeing the Northern Lights. Didn't see any. It was too cloudy every day, which is a bit of a shame. But they were there the day before I arrived. Anyway, I saw some whales. I went dog sledding and stuff like that. I'll post videos. I'm posting one. I'll post videos of all of them, basically. So you can have a look at that. The other thing, what else has been happening? My YouTube channel. It's still growing, maybe 20 subscribers a month, something like that, plus or minus a few. I had 769 subscribers at the last count. I mean, it's okay, but it's very, very slow increase. And I'm trying to figure out what I can do to speed that up, because ultimately I would like to be running the channel as a full-time business, maybe, or living off it or something, but at this rate it's way too slow. I need not 770 subscribers, I need 70,000 or more even subscribers, probably 700,000 subscribers for it to be reliable. That's, at this rate it'll take me another century. I think it's not really getting there. I mean, I accept that my videos are not all that professional. I don't have the funds to invest in a studio and all this business. And I don't spend time editing them carefully to make them all fantastic and slick, because I don't have the time. I'm at work, right? I'm not an expert video editor anyway, but I could learn it. However, I can't afford to spend like 10 or 20 hours editing a video. I can afford to spend just as long as it takes to play the video. I can do a bit at the beginning and the end, cut out any bad bits. That's about it. There's no time. But what my videos do have is, I think, authenticity. And I think this is the key to my channel and how it's unique, if you like. This is my unique selling point, in a way. It's true. Don't arrest me. And that I want to keep no matter what. I mean, even if the channel grows big and I can hire people to do the editing for me or something, right, one day, I would still, and even I might even have guest presenters, I don't know, why not? I'll still do my bits. I would want to retain that authenticity. I mean, I'm comparing it with a channel like D News. They do like science bits, popular science videos, short ones usually, and they choose very good topics. I have to say they choose good topics, and they're presented very slickly. They've obviously got good editing, but what I don't like is that it's entirely scripted. I mean, even the lame jokes are scripted, and I hate that, and it's so inauthentic. The jokes are lame and obvious as well, because, I mean, if you have scripted jokes can work really well. A comedian whose jokes are not as obvious, they really work, and they present them well, of course. But when the jokes are lame and scripted, it doesn't work. My jokes are lame, but they're not scripted, right? And that, I think, works. It's got this authenticity, right? But I think on D News, please stop the jokes, or ad-lib them only. And I mean, there are lots and lots of channels like this. I mean, the media is, and YouTube as well, is bursting with this style of bubbly, cheerful, in your face, scripted inauthenticity. I'm happy to be cheerful and all that. Maybe it's not my personality to be totally bubbly, right? But this scripting side of it is what spoils it. It doesn't work, I think. However, it works for them because they have 2.3 million subscribers and I have 769 or so. Their channel's maybe a couple of years old. They obviously went into it with a big pile of investment money though, and I've got Zippo, right? I suppose I've invested a few £100 because I've got the camera and stuff like that, but it's just a cheap camcorder. It's not that expensive. I've got a microphone, a light. You know, it's very, very basic. But you know, it's working. But what can I do to make it grow faster? How can I do this? If you have ideas, stick comments below. I would want to do what I do, more or less anyway, but avoid the fakiness. Is it possible to grow a channel whilst avoiding the fakiness? Are there channels out there with large numbers of subscribers which are not flipping fake? I suppose there are. There are lots of sort of makeup channels and things like that, which do it, but that's not me, obviously. It's all a bit of a puzzle. So I'm thinking about it. If you have ideas, by all means, add comments. I'm very interested to hear. Not so much ideas of what to make videos about, but of the channel's shape and direction, how to popularise it without spoiling what works. I'm not a marketing expert, but I can learn all these things if I have to. Right, I probably will have to. Or I'll get an expert in when the channel makes enough money. But I don't know what to do. It's a puzzle. I'm going to keep making videos anyway, of course. Bye for now.